You a house, right? My mom's words echoed in the living room like a lie wrapped in silk.
No.
I bought this house. With my own hands, my own sacrifices, my own endless nights of work. But when I walked in, there she was, my mother, arms stretched like a realtor, guiding my brother's wife through the hallways as if she owned every wall, every beam, every breath inside it. And this, she announced proudly, opening the French doors to the backyard, will be perfect for family barbecues. I stood frozen in the doorway. My name is Diana Monroe, 32 years old. And if you think this story is about a house, you're wrong. This is about what happens when trust is stolen brick by brick, and how betrayal doesn't come with warning sirens. It comes with a smile. Tell me, what do you do when the people who raised you decide your life belongs to them? I smiled, waited for them to leave, and pretended not to notice how my mother's eyes flickered when she realized I was standing there. That night, I changed every lock. The house didn't just reject them. It didn't even recognize their touch anymore. And that was just the beginning. The next morning, my phone lit up with a flood of missed calls.
Mom.
Then Dad. Then my brother's wife. Each voicemail sounded like a performance, dripping with entitlement and anger. Diana, what's this nonsense? We couldn't get in. Call me back. Sweetheart, don't be dramatic. We've always shared everything as a family. Keys, cars, bank accounts. It's no different with this house. And then, my brother's wife, her voice smug, almost rehearsed. You really think you can keep it to yourself? It's ours too. Everyone knows your mother paid for it. That line nearly made me laugh out loud. Paid for it? My mother hadn't paid a single dime. I still remembered working 3 jobs, sleeping in my car, missing meals just to make the first down payment. I was the one who signed the mortgage papers, who wired every installment, who sacrificed friendships and love for a dream they now wanted to strip away in a single evening tour. By noon, I decided to test something. I pulled up the home security app on my phone. The footage from the night before was crystal clear. My mother's smile as she swung open the door, her voice proudly telling them, "Welcome to our new home." My brother's wife twirling in the kitchen like she already owned it. I saved the clips. Something told me I'd need them later. At 2 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Hard. Demanding. I peeked through the camera and saw them. Mom, Dad, and my brother's wife, all standing there, glaring at the locked door like it had betrayed them. I pressed mute on my phone, silenced every ring, and whispered to myself, "No, this time, I won't open the door." That silence was my first act of revenge. By evening, their patience had run dry. I sat by the window, sipping coffee, as their voices rose outside like a storm. My mother's shrill tone pierced through the air. "Diana, you're embarrassing this family. Open the door now." My brother's wife added fuel. "She's acting like a child. This house should have been ours anyway. Mom said so." I let their words hang in the air, savoring every syllable of entitlement. For years, I had been their punching bag. The forgotten daughter, the scapegoat, the one they could humiliate at birthdays, weddings, dinners, always reminding me I wasn't good enough. But this house was mine. My blood, sweat, and sacrifice were in every corner of it. And they hated that truth. Around 7 p.m., Dad tried a softer approach. His voice, calm but rehearsed. "Sweetheart, let's talk this out. Families don't keep secrets. Families don't lock each other out." That line cut me deeper than they realized. Families don't keep secrets? My entire childhood had been a web of their lies. They had hidden money, hidden affairs, hidden favoritism, always leaving me in the dark until I stumbled upon the wreckage. I muted the security camera so I wouldn't hear them anymore. Instead, I walked through each room slowly, running my fingers along the walls, breathing in the peace that came with ownership. For the first time in my life, I had something they couldn't taint. But the silence didn't last long. At 9:14 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't them. It was my lawyer. His voice was steady, sharp. "Diana, you were right to save that footage. We may need it, because your mother just tried to file an ownership claim." I froze. My hands tightened around the phone. The war had officially begun. Sleep never came that night. I sat on the edge of my bed, the glow of my laptop illuminating the lawyer's email. Attached were documents my mother had filed, claims that she had partially funded the down payment for my house, therefore entitling her to shared ownership. It was laughable. I had bank statements, transfer receipts, and years of tax records proving every cent was mine. Still, the audacity made my chest burn. By sunrise, the family group chat was buzzing. Screenshots, half-truths, twisted stories. She's stolen from us. She tricked Mom. She doesn't even deserve that house. They painted me as a thief. The same daughter they once mocked for being too broke, too stupid, too plain was now, in their eyes, a cunning manipulator who had somehow outsmarted them. At 8 a.m., I stepped outside for the first time since changing the locks. My brother was parked across the street, glaring at me like I was a criminal. His wife leaned over the dashboard, snapping photos of my home, like it was evidence. I didn't flinch. I simply waved and walked back inside. By noon, my lawyer called again. Diana, their claim won't stand. But we need to be smart. Keep every text, every voicemail. Don't engage directly. But ignoring them was harder than it sounded. At 3:47 p.m., my phone lit up with a voicemail from my mother. Her voice, brittle yet venomous. You think you've won? You're still nothing without this family. Don't forget where you came from. That house will be ours. I replayed it 3 times. Not because it hurt, but because it reminded me. They had spent years underestimating me. Now they were about to realize just how dangerous silence could be. The next morning, I brewed coffee and opened my curtains wide, letting the sunlight flood every corner of my living room. My house. My walls. My sanctuary. Across the street, my brother's car was gone, but the feeling of being watched lingered like smoke. I checked my security cameras, tiny red dots blinking from every angle. I had installed them quietly months before, not out of paranoia, but out of instinct. Now they felt prophetic. By noon, the footage delivered its first gift. My mother and brother had been on my porch the night before, whispering as they tried to pry open the lock with some sort of tool. Their silhouettes were clear, their muttered curses sharper than glass. I forwarded the clip to my lawyer without hesitation. He called almost instantly, his voice a mixture of outrage and admiration. Diana, this isn't just harassment anymore. It's attempted breaking and entering. If you want, we can press charges. I hesitated, fingers tapping the kitchen counter. Pressing charges would ignite a war. But then again, hadn't they already started one? By evening, the whispers spread wider. My aunt called, pretending to check in. Within 2 minutes she was asking, "Sweetheart, maybe you should just let them use the house for a little while. You don't want to tear the family apart, do you?" I laughed so hard I startled her. Tear the family apart? They had ripped me from it years ago. All I had done was finally lock the door they'd always walked through. As the sun set, I walked through each room of my house, touching the walls, the windows, the door frames. I wasn't just protecting 4 walls. I was protecting the only thing I had built without their claws in it. And this time I swore they wouldn't take it back. 2 days later, the confrontation I knew was coming finally arrived. I was pruning the roses by my front steps when their car screeched into the driveway. My mother got out first, dressed like she was headed to brunch, not battle. My brother's wife followed, her designer bag slung over her arm like she owned the place. And then my brother, jaw clenched, eyes locked on me with a mixture of rage and entitlement. "Open the door, Diana," Mom ordered, her tone sharp as glass. "This is a family home, and you're being selfish." I calmly clipped a dead rose stem and dropped it into the basket at my feet. "This is my home, bought with my money. If you wanted a family home, you should have bought one yourselves." His wife scoffed, rolling her eyes. "You don't even need this place. You're just being spiteful." Spiteful. The word rang in my ears like a church bell. Spiteful was watching them laugh at me when I couldn't pay my tuition. Spiteful was Mom telling relatives I'd never amount to anything. Spiteful was pretending I didn't exist until suddenly I owned something they wanted. My brother stepped forward, his voice low and threatening. "If you don't give us a key, we'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." I tilted my head, a slow smile spreading. Funny. I was about to say the same thing. I pulled my phone from my pocket and held up the video, clear footage of them attempting to break into my house. The blood drained from their faces in unison. "You think you can intimidate me?" I whispered. "The locks aren't the only thing that changed. I'm not the same girl you used to trample on." Their silence told me they finally understood. That night, I didn't sleep. Not out of fear, but out of the adrenaline rush of finally standing my ground. For years, I had been the one tiptoeing around them, begging for scraps of love, of validation, of belonging. Now, the roles had shifted, and they knew it. At 9:14 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "We're family. Stop this nonsense. Give us the keys, and no one else needs to know." Seconds later, another text from my brother's wife. "You'll regret this, Diana. Don't test us." I just stared at the screen, my lips curving into a smirk. Regret? They had no idea what regret even looked like. I opened my laptop and drafted a simple email. Attached were the video clips of their attempted break-in, along with screenshots of the texts they had just sent me, thinly veiled threats. The subject line was short, sharp, and surgical, for record-keeping. I blind copied it to the neighborhood association, my lawyer, and a contact at the local paper who'd been sniffing around for stories about the respectable family my mother always bragged about. When I hit send, I felt a weight lift off my chest. Years of humiliation, years of being treated like the family shadow, evaporated with one click. By morning, I knew the calls would start. Desperate ones. Angry ones. Maybe even tearful ones. But it didn't matter. Because for the first time, the truth was no longer locked inside me. It was out there, alive and breathing, and it would do what I never could. Make them accountable. And deep down, I wondered, would they even dare show their faces in public again? The next morning came with chaos. My phone lit up before sunrise. Missed calls from my mother, frantic voicemails from my brother, even a shaky text from his wife begging me to take everything down. But the chain had already been set in motion. By 8 a.m., my lawyer confirmed the video evidence and threats were securely filed. By noon, the neighborhood group chat was buzzing with whispers. And by evening, the article hit the local paper. Prominent family under scrutiny for fraud and harassment. Their empire of appearances, carefully polished for decades, cracked overnight. My mother, who once paraded me as her shame, was now trending online as a liar. My brother's wife, who had sneered at me from my own porch, was suddenly the face of entitlement in the community. And me? I didn't even have to lift another finger. That evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon, I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee. I watched their car pull up, saw them hesitate at the locked gate. They didn't dare step out this time. My mother's eyes found mine, pleading, but I felt nothing. No rage, no hurt, no longing. Just clarity. I stood, walked to the gate, and said calmly, "You erased me for years. Now the world sees who you really are. This house, this peace, it's mine. And you'll never control it again." Their faces broke, but I didn't stay to watch. I turned, closed the door behind me, and let silence answer them. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the forgotten child, the family embarrassment, or the one left in shadows. I was free.